course, you know me as Brian, and I was aiming to get this video up probably today, with today being Tuesday, and I recorded maybe 50 minutes, and then all of a sudden it shut off. Well, not exactly shut off. It said no more disk space, so I couldn't record. So then I tried to look for it on the computer. I think it was on my external hard drive. And I was looking and looking. I was looking at the computer. It could be on my computer somewhere. The video I recorded last night, or maybe it was during the day. It was during the day, I think, because it's today. Right now, it's Tuesday, 9:39 at night Eastern time, and yeah. So, anyways, I either I lost it, it deleted the whole video, or it's somewhere on my computer or on my external hard drive. I don't know which. So then, in order to record this for a second time, I had to transfer stuff from my external hard drive and put it onto my computer, clogging up my computer hard drive. So I have, I think, 9 gigabytes worth of empty hard drive storage on my computer, and I tried. I had bought a second external hard drive a few months ago, and I tried putting it. I inserted it into the computer, and it really doesn't work with the computer. I bought it cheap. I think I should have bought the one I have currently. The one I've always had for my computer, which is my Passport for Mac. So instead of buying off of Amazon, where I might pay a lot of money, I bought it off of eBay, brand new, and even it was slightly more expensive than the one I bought before. But I think I'd be more rest assured because it's the same exact thing that I have right now, and that's a better way of doing it. So I got to sort of sit tight for a few days or a week or so until I can record more stuff. Basically, it kind of limits what I record. You know, video, of course, takes up a lot of room, and music takes up a lot of room. I don't even know if I should be taping this because I'm taking up a lot of space on the hard drive. But I did manage to free up about, I don't know, 16 gigabytes on the external hard drive, which I think is a lot. Because, you know, yesterday I was on for around 15 minutes, which was kind of a record for me. I mean, I have been on like 40 minutes or maybe a 50-minute video, but usually it goes, I mean, not usually. It doesn't usually go past that. But anyways, I'm kind of frustrated that I recorded all that and, you know, put my thoughts out as to what I thought about the films I was reviewing and the stars, you know, that I gave each movie, and all the other stuff I wanted to say. Some of it I had forgot at the time, and now I remember now. So anyways, and I sort of trailed off a little at the starting when I did the previous video. Okay, so anyways, I've got how many films? 13 movies that I watched off of Criterion Channel. I lost Criterion Channel on Monday. I thought I'd either lose it on Monday or Tuesday, and I think I'm not going to subscribe to the Criterion Channel until I get my job back. I do have my job. I'm just on furlough. I'm being paid on unemployment until we open up again to the public. And so I haven't resubscribe to the Criterion channel, which I really like a lot because they have some special features like other streaming websites. They don't have the special features you'd find on a disc, and Criterion channel they do. They have like 3 types of movies on there. They have the Criterion films. One of those 2 types being the Criterion editions that you would buy and all the special features that come with it, including the commentaries, the video essays by film professors, filmmakers, why they love the film, behind the scenes, interviews at the time, trailers, commentaries. Then they have Criterions with just the movie, and then they have another category which is just movies that are not in the Criterion collection. And then they cover people like women directors, African-American directors. They have Martin Scorsese, World Cinema Curation, where he chooses movies that he thinks are important around the world. They have a double feature category. They have a kids. I don't think it's for kids really, but they have a kids part which is called Saturday Matinee. But you probably, if you have kids, it'd probably be a better bet to get something like Disney Plus or Amazon or Netflix. I was thinking of it, Amazon too, but like Netflix and Disney Plus. You know, I don't have Disney Plus, but. And the other ones that I subscribe to, like Mubi, for example, is like Criterion Channel. It has a lot of foreign films, classic Hollywood, independents. But I think Criterion Channel is more bang for your buck because Mubi is like $12, $13 a month. Criterion Channel is like $11 a month, but you can pay $100 for a whole year. So since I've lost Criterion Channel for the moment, I have all these Criterions I've bought, tons of them, and I haven't watched them. Either I've seen the movie before, but I haven't watched my actual copy, my Criterion copy, or I haven't seen the movie at all. So I'd like to maybe catch up on that while I'm waiting to get my job back. Movie, I just dropped it because it's 30 films a day. They take one off, put another one off each day, put another one on each day, and it's hard accessing the subtitles. Didn't really do much for me. They've stepped up their quality of films, but I think Criterion Channel's much better use of my money. Netflix I dropped in late March. Of course, I'm going on and I'm not talking about the films, but I'll get there fairly soon. I started it up again in late April because I missed it. I stopped it in late May, and I'm getting access to it through another person, which I won't detail here. And I also have Shudder, which I lost like on April 22nd. Then Joe Bob Briggs did an advertisement for his last drive-in that was starting 2 days later, so I resubscribed. And I only subscribe monthly to Shudder. So Shudder's the only one I'm paying for right now for his show, which I've got to catch up on because I was watching lots of Criterion films before it expired on me. And I think it's going to expire. His show, not expire. His season 2 of Last Drive-In, it's going to wrap up sometime in July, I think. So once I've caught up on all the previous ones and previous movies and that he's curated, and the ones he's going to do in the next coming weeks, after he finishes, I'll drop that, and then I won't be paying anything for a while. So okay, got that cleared out of the way. As you will see, I put a new feature at the start of my video here. My videos I watched recently, videos. Films I watched recently, videos. That's what I mean to say. You'll see a picture of Yojimbo. And I thought it was cool to add some wind sound effects. I thought maybe I'll add some rustling of leaves and footsteps. So I don't know in what so far I put down a layer of sound effects with wind blowing. I don't know if I add some footsteps and leaves rustling, to enhance it. I don't know, but anyways, the wind blowing is at least one sound effect I'm going to have in there. Anyways, that particular picture and the disclaimer it has with it, I got inspired to do that because a friend of mine from the UK, LJ Draco's movie channel, he just recently put on his videos. Last I knew, it said, please no one under 18 watch this video. Now I already have a restriction on that I can access on my channel, so that's no big deal in a way. But I thought just to reinforce it, I would have that notice on the video itself. Okay, covered that. I'm just trying to get some things out of the way before I get into reviewing all these movies. Let's see, what else do I have to say? I won't be buying any more Blu-rays for quite some time. I have 6 that I work at the library, and in the basement we sell used and new books, DVDs, Blu-rays, vinyl records. So I found a few of interest, and they're only like $2, $3 a piece, and I had 6 of them set aside, and that was in March. And then in late March we closed the library to the public so I can go back and pay for them. So they're just sitting down there waiting for me when we reopen, to pick them up. So that's the only thing that I would be buying as far as Blu-rays go. So there's 6 of them, and I will show them when I get them, and I'll show them on my channel. But I don't aim. I don't aim on buying any more, because I run into some large amounts of money through my taxes, through some of the government, some unemployment pay, some that $1,200 check that was given to people. So all that increased in my savings and my checking account, and it makes it very possible now for me to get to Japan, my dream trip, which I think I can do maybe next year in fall of 2021, and or if I have to adjust it, 2022, spring or fall of 2022, and I think I can get basically the money all together at the end of this year if I strictly discipline myself and don't spend all my money here and over there, all over the place, buying things. So I'm going to have to restrict myself, and I have been restricting myself to food and gas. So, and I have a few thousand, and Japan's not cheap, and I really want to save money. So, people tell me, like, certain people are saying to me, like, "Oh, buy this, buy that." I guess I want to address Aaron Pin. Aaron, if you're watching this, I can't buy movies. I tell you that in the comments on in your streams, rather. It's just not realistic. It's not realistic in terms of going to Japan. It's also not realistic in terms of the salary I make and the things I need to buy. Like the external hard drive. I need that for my computer. That's a necessary expense. So, anyways, I'm sorry, Aaron, but I just can't buy any. I try to see if I can look at them some other way, the films you recommend, like off of YouTube or Shudder, so I found some that way. So hopefully that can satisfy you. I have bought a few that you recommended in the past. I bought My Neighbor Totoro of the box set. I bought a box set of Ray Harryhausen movies. Not the Indicator one, but an Australian box set. I might have bought one or two other things that you recommended. But I just can't buy things, that people recommend. I would love to buy stuff, but I just don't have the money. And that sort of ties in with something else. Another YouTuber who sort of stresses that issue himself. His name's DAISUKE BEPPU. I'll put his name up here. He does these great streams on movies. He does these great streams on movies, and he's been covering the James Bond movies. The last one he did was The Living Daylights. One previous was On Her Majesty's Secret Service. He's going to do one on Dr. No sometime during this month of June. I don't think he's put up an announcement yet. I'm not quite sure on that. But I recall him saying on a stream, I think it was a stream, I don't think it was the regular video, but anyways, he was saying, if you can't afford to buy a Blu-ray or a DVD, if your financial means is not within the capabilities of acquiring movies on Blu-ray or DVD, it's quite all right, that you have to cut back or something. And I would like to say that too, and I would like to say that to anybody watching me. That I know I've been going on for 18 minutes here. I'll wrap it up in just a second. I know that. Oh, and one other thing I'll mention. I'll put it at the start of my video so you can say fast forward. I'll even say when I get to this point on my clock, my timer, I'll say, if you don't want to hear all this stuff that I'm telling you right now, fast forward to such and such minutes. Okay. So, anyways, what was I talking about? I was talking about. Buying movies. So, okay. So, if people ask me for recommendations, please don't feel like I'm going to feel obligated to buy something that you suggest or recommend. It's not that I don't want to buy it. It's just I have other issues right now. I have thought of buying some guitar accessories like a capo to hold on the neck. What's another thing? Another slide. Maybe one other pedal, but I'm really trying to dwindle down my expenses and just basically stick to bare minimums. And if I recommend a movie to you and you don't have the financial means to acquire it, if it's like a Criterion and it's expensive, you might want to wait for a sale like a Barnes & Noble July or November sale where they have 50% off, 10% off with your Barnes & Noble card if you go inside the store itself. There's 2 flash sales for Criterions during the year. Usually it's February and October. This year was February. Last year was March. So please, if I recommend movies to you, and if you do not have the money to buy them, or even if you do have the money to buy them, but then it would make your situation worse financially in other areas, please do not feel obligated to buy a movie. Please, I stress that. See it any way you possibly can on the internet, through YouTube, through a channel like Criterion Channel, or from your library. There's even some services like your library will offer you, like I have Canopy, and they have Criterion films on there. Not a lot, but they have some. I have most of them, I think, in my collection that they have on Canopy. But anyways, I'm digressing. So just don't feel obligated is the point I'm trying to get across. Okay, so I'll get into the movies now. And I will put the disclaimer, not a disclaimer, a notice at the start of this video that says, if you don't want to hear all this talk right I'm saying now, please fast forward to, it says about 20 minutes and 26 seconds. So just fast forward, and then you can decide if you want to listen to all this or you just want to go past it. So, okay, so enough chatter. Okay, so anyways, let's get to the movies. They're all Criterion Channel movies. First one's In a Year of 13 Moons. It came out in 1978. It's directed by Werner Fassbinder. It's about a guy who has a sex change. He is born a man. He gets a sex change later in his life. At the start of the movie, he's prostituting himself out in the streets somewhere in Germany. I don't know which city. The man who's having sex with him basically realizes that he's not quite a woman, and he and his friends beat the guy. Well, I say guy because he's sort of looks mannish as a woman. You know, he has manly features. So they beat him up a little. So the main character's name is Elvira, and his name before that, when he was a man, he was Erwin. So he goes back to his flat or apartment or what have you, and his lover Christoph wants nothing to do with him anymore because they get on all these fights, and he says, I've had it with you, and so he gets in his car and he tries to jet off, tries to leave him behind, and Erwin, not Erwin, it's Elvira at this point. She jumps on the car and pleads not for him not to leave. And in this particular, just as a sideline here, when you see him jump on the car and run around the streets, you hear the music from Fellini's Amarcord, the theme music. Fellini had a composer who did 8½, one of my favorite movies, but one of my favorite movies of all time, La Dolce Vita. These particular films that I mentioned, also another one, La Strada, they were scored by Nino Rota. He also did the Godfather films. I don't think he did the third because he was dead by that time. But anyways, I'm digressing. You hear the Amarcord theme as he's running around the streets. And then he manages to see a woman that he knows named Zora, and they end up at a butchering warehouse where they're cutting up animals. I didn't even think about this when I recorded my last video, my previous video, what didn't work out. Anybody who doesn't like animal cruelty shouldn't watch this particular scene, or if you can't watch it in the whole capacity as a movie, please don't watch it then. It's not worth it, because if you really don't like animal cruelty, you will not like seeing cows being cut up and all that stuff. The latter part of the movie after that does not concern. It's just a scene with cutting up of cows being cut up alive, and if you're an animal lover and you find that hard to watch, then maybe this is not your cup of tea, or at least you want to fast forward through that, which is understandable. And the main character, Elvira, says she used to work as a butcher I think she got the sex change when she went to Africa to be a prostitute, or maybe it was before that. And then Zora and her go. They go to the this orphanage, which these nuns run, and they ask about maybe it's who are his parents or something like that. And honestly, I can't remember how the film ends. But I did love it because it was tragic. I think it has an unhappy ending like most Fassbinder movies. The only Fassbinder film I know of that has a happy ending is 8 Hours Don't Make a Day, and that was because Fassbinder had a limited budget, I believe, and the television studio that was backing the film did not want an unhappy ending. So, but I give it 4.5 stars because I'm a big Fassbinder fan. Second film is Third Generation by Werner Fassbinder, 1979. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I think I am. I don't know. I don't know German. This film entails different people. This guy that runs this office, his secretary, it turns out, how does this work? Oh, there's a detective. I think he's investigating the guy's office, and the detectives. How does this work? The secretary that works at the office. How does this work? The secretary who works at the office is dating. She's married to this guy, and she's having an affair with the guy's father. Okay, so there's that, and then there's this interesting aside that I want us to talk about, sort of just briefly. Somebody's teaching a class, and they're talking about the rise of Nazism. They're saying, it was like rampant capitalism, maybe socialism too. It's kind of interesting diatribe as to how Germany might have become Nazified, but I can't remember exactly the context or the exact quotes about it, but I found it quite interesting. The guy that plays the boss in the film, he gets kidnapped later on in the film. He's played by Eddie Constantine, who would be in earlier films like Jean-Luc Godard's Alphaville, the detective, and he was in also Fassbinder's, I think he's an American Soldier, and he was also in, what's another movie? Oh, Beware of a Holy Whore by Fassbinder. And he makes a brief appearance in Agnes Varda's, the film I reviewed previous video, Lions, Laughter, and Love, or whatever that hippie movie in California. He makes a brief appearance. So that's the Third Generation. He gets kidnapped. The kidnappers wear these outlandish masks, and I don't know, it's sort of goofy how it ends, but I still enjoyed it, and I'm partial, 4.5 stars. So now we get to this Japanese director who was recommended to me on YouTube. I can't remember the YouTuber who recommended this Japanese director to me. I think I chose the correct director. I think I did. I think this particular director's films, there were 4 of them, I think is in a Eclipse box set. Maybe I'm not. I think that's correct. Anyways, the director's name is Hiroshi Shimizu. So the first film I want to talk about is Japanese Girls at the Harbor. It came out in 1933. It's a silent. It's about these two Japanese girls. They go to and from school every day, and then one day, this guy on a bike picks up one of the girls, and I think they're both in love with this man. And at a certain point in the film, the biker has a steady girlfriend, or maybe she's a more wealthy girlfriend, and they're in a church, and one of the schoolgirls kills the woman, and I think she goes to jail. I think she does, and then it fast forwards to the future, when they're full-grown women. One's married to an artist, another's married to, I think, the guy, or because it's kind of confusing because there's this one woman that gets killed at the start of the film, and then later on, I thought there was three other. There was another woman with those two that started off with the film. I'm kind of confused, but so one of them is married to an artist who paints portraits, and I can't remember exactly how it goes. The husband, the other husband, I think he's got his wife pregnant, and he's in love with the other woman that's not his wife, and she says, "Be a good husband, go back to your wife, be a good father, and raise your child that's going to be born." I guess that's it in a nutshell. I give that film 4 stars because the way I would describe this director's films, I would call them sweet. They're kind of sweet and lovely. Next film was the weakest, I think, in the film, in the 4 films that I'm talking about. Mr. Thank You, or Mr. Arigato-san, or whatever. Arigato-san. This came out in 1936. His name is Mr. Thank You because he drives a bus, and he drives the bus from the countryside to Tokyo on a regular basis. And while he's driving down the roads, which are pretty narrow, he beeps the horn, and people in the middle of the road, they pull to the side. Then you see a cross dissolve, and you see from the back of the bus, and he says, "Arigato, arigato." So that's why it's called Mr. Thank You. At the start of the film, he picks up a woman that whose mother wants her to go to work in Tokyo. She doesn't want to go, but the mother cares for her financial well-being. She strikes up a romantic relationship with the bus driver very slowly as they edge towards Tokyo. There's other interesting characters that are on the bus, like a guy with a handlebar mustache, sort of a handlebar mustache, and he's kind of I don't know if pervert's the right word, but like the woman sitting across from him in the other seat, she sort of makes comments that make fun of him. So, but anyways, it was kind of the weakest, 3.5 stars. I won't say what happens in regards to the details of the bus driver and the woman he takes a liking to. The next film is The Masseurs and a Woman, 1938. It's about these blind massage guys and a woman. What's a woman's role? I can't remember. They start off in the film walking blind. Well, of course they walk blind. They walk with their sticks down the road, headed towards the massage inns. And in his films, I guess you have at least with this one I'm talking about, Mr. Thank You, he has a very comic way of portraying his characters. And in The Masseurs and a Woman, am I thinking of the right movie? Oh no, yeah, that's the next movie. So these blind guys, they're massaging all these men and women, and they manage to massage these 4, maybe they're college guys, and they're about to walk back and hike back to where they were previously, and they can't go back because they've been massaged so much that it's hard on their legs. So I guess it's a humorous thing. I can't remember this film too much. These are 13 films I watched like one after the other, so it's hard to remember them all. Maybe that sort of cripples my memory of all these films. So, but anyways, I give it 4 stars because it's kind of a fun movie, I guess. The next one is probably the one I like the most. Ornamental Hairpin. Came out in 1941. And it stars in one of the, not one of the main roles, but one of the other roles, Chishu Ryu, R-Y-U is his last name. He was in a lot of Ozu's films. He was in Tokyo Story as the grandfather. Wolfgratz, I think, said on one of my videos, or maybe it was somebody else's video, and I responded back to Wolf. I do not know if Chisurio was in Akira Kurosawa's dreams as the old man in the windmill village. Not the windmill. Not windmills. What are they called? Yeah, maybe like the things that go in the water that go around. What do you call them? Sort of like windmills, but they go in the water. I don't know, water mills or whatever. I didn't know that was him that was in the movie. I thought he had died in the late 80s, mid 80s. I had no idea. If you know, put your thoughts down here and let me know. Anyways, he makes an appearance in this. These college kids show up at this inn. The professor doesn't want. The professor is another character in the story. He doesn't like all the noise. And there's this running gag in the film where he's calling the front desk and saying things like, "I want another room," and they say, "Oh, sorry, all the rooms are taken," or "I want a masseuse," or I guess that's what you call them, a massage person, and they say, "Oh, they're all taken," So that's sort of a running gag in the film. The Japanese people, they like to bathe, and it started off with their, because they have volcanoes in their country, and they have hot springs. I guess it's the hot springs you would call them, and you bathe in the hot water, and I guess men and women bathe in the same. They're called onsens, I think, the bathing pools, but Japanese people, at least at one point, at least in the 1940s here, they bathe nude with each other. There's an old man, the professor. There's these young guys. There's even some kids that get in the onsen, the bath, and I guess that's acceptable at that time period. I have no idea right now. I think they still sit naked in the baths. But in any case, one of the characters gets stabbed in the foot while he's sitting on while he's in the onsen, the bath, and it's an ornamental hairpin that he gets pierced by. So his foot is in a cast, and he has to work on rehabilitating himself so he can go back to Tokyo. I think it's Tokyo, and the woman who caused the problem, who left the hairpin there, she comes back to the inn. I think she falls in love with the guy that got the injury. And you'll notice in the film, like, that when the professor gets something, there's a misunderstanding between the inn keepers and the professor. They're very, very apologetic. I think it's a very Japanese thing. They say, "Oh, we're very sorry. It'll never happen again. Please accept our apologies." They're very, very like that, I guess. But anyways, yeah, it sort of has a happy ending, and so that basically details it. That was the one I liked the most. So on to the next movie. The next movie is called Chungking Express. It came out in 1994. It's directed by Wong Kar-wai. Its country of origin is Hong Kong. It details two different cops who work in the streets of Hong Kong. One is in love with a woman that's I don't know if in love is the right word. He's, how would you put it? He takes a liking to her, and she's a drug mule. She has this group, and they're smuggling drugs out of the country. She's wearing a fake blonde wig. She's wearing sunglasses. And then the second story, and I sort of was lost because that story stops all of a sudden and never picks up. And I guess there's something to that. I guess I don't know exactly. I did watch with the Criterion Channel. I did watch some of the special features on some of these. I couldn't get access all the special features and all the films because I ran out of time. But anyways, I think it was David Bordwell talked about the parallel narratives and how that sort of works beautifully. The other guy, he comes to I think both of them come to this eatery restaurant kind of takeout place, and he's in love with a stewardess who leaves him at a certain point, and there's a relationship that develops between him and a young girl. Well, it's a youngish girl. She meets the guy's former girlfriend, who drops off something for her former boyfriend, which happens to be the keys to his apartment. So this young woman, she goes to his apartment. She starts playing around with stuff in his apartment, leaving little things, and so like it's like a romance of the sort, just trying to get him interested in her, and she flirts with him a little on the street, It was interesting. I give it 4 stars. I also have In the Mood for Love, which he directed, which I think takes place in the 60s in Hong Kong. I don't know if I loved it when I watched it, but I think I might have a different take on it now. I haven't watched it yet when I bought it, but I think I'm going to like it. I think I'm going to like it again. But anyways, okay, so next one up is Elephant Sitting Still. This is a film from China. It came out in 2018. It's directed by a director named Hu Bo. This film is about 4 hours long, but you wouldn't notice that because it goes on. So it's such a good clip. It's such a good pace that you're not aware of time going by like that. It details the story of two friends. There's a bully who's mad because his phone has been stolen from one of the boys, and his friend stands up for him and accidentally kills the guy, throws him down a set of stairs, and that bully's brother is looking for the guy, and this guy, the main character, has a girlfriend. I guess it's his girlfriend. He and his girlfriend are not appreciated very much by their parents. The main character is told by the principal that when his school and another school merge, there's not much of a future for him, and he'll end up as a food street vendor. And there's all these parallel narratives in this film. These different characters are interconnected. The grandfather of the main character, he's facing the fact that he might have to be put in a nursing home. So really interesting movie. It basically how it works is it doesn't jump in large whiffs of time. It doesn't jump from day to day. It's basically at one day. It's not really that. There's not really. It doesn't jump like an hour ahead or 3 hours ahead. I don't think it's like an hour ahead. It's basically within the same day. So But it's really good. And the director of this film, he killed himself at the age of 29, which I found in the notes on YouTube, not YouTube, Criterion's channel. This is his one and only film, but really good. Next two films I'm going to talk about, because of what's been happening in the U.S. regarding racism, you know, all the riots, the murder of George Floyd, the way the police have treated African American people, not just currently but in the past, and how it's unsettling the fabric of America. You know, I thought, you know, I should watch some films that address this topic. First film is a French movie. It's called La Haine, the translation being hate. It's directed, I think it was his first feature. It came out in 1995. It's directed by Matthieu, Kassovitz. One of the actors' names is Seymour Cassel, who plays a Jewish character. He has two friends. One's black, and the other guy is Arab. And they live in the projects of the outskirts of Paris. I think it's the outskirts of Paris. And they basically have no future. They have no prospects. But you have sympathy for these guys because of, you know, because of, you know, they're just trying to make it each day and try to make the best out of each day. And they go into Paris. You know, they meet a guy that I think is a drug dealer. The Seymour Cassel character is carrying around a gun with him. There's a scene in the film where he does an homage to Taxi Driver, where he's looking into his mirror at home, pointing the gun and saying, I think he has a gun in his hand, or maybe it's his hands. You're talking to me, monologue. And there's another really great shot when they're in Paris and they're in a building. I don't think it's the Eiffel Tower, but they're like on a balcony, or I don't know if it's a balcony. Whatever it is, they're outside, high up, and there's this what's called a Hitchcock zoom, which was used in Vertigo. I think is where it originated, and Jaws is another film that uses it. Basically, what it consists of is you either zoom or zoom in or zoom out the camera lens, and move the camera at the same time in the opposite direction. So he has these really cool shots in the movie. He has a shot where I think he must use a helicopter for it, where he goes above the project roofs in the air, because I think it's before the time of the drones, before people could own a drone or use drones in movies. And then he has some great shots, like there's like half of a screen will have Seymour Cassell's face, and then the other half of the screen will have a long shot of people talking. Not talking, I'm sorry, like a scene, I don't know, whatever. Maybe, you know, maybe people fighting or something. But a really good film. This film had trouble finding financing, and Jodie Foster, I watched a special feature with her in it, and she was talking about that French films don't necessarily have trouble being financed, but this one did because I guess of its controversial nature. This will tie into another film I'm talking about right after this, in regards to French people and their attitudes towards racism. But anyways, La Haine, I get 4.5 stars. Next film I'm going to talk about is from Senegal. It came out in 1966. It's called Black Girl. It's directed by a director. I'm going to butcher the name because I don't know how to pronounce it. Ousmane Sembene. And I don't remember the name of the main character, her real name. I do not remember exactly her character name. I think it's something like Giamani. Dhaimoiu or something like that. She is hired by a white family to take care of the family's 3 children, and she thinks when she's called to France, she's going to continue doing that. And she's made into a maid. She's made to cook. She's made to mop the floor. She's cooking in the kitchen, and they're making these comments about racism, and basically a very shallow understanding how to perceive race, that they don't quite show enough respect or see the flaws in the way they think. And one of the guests at one of the times there was a dinner there, older man, maybe 60s, 70s. He asks to kiss her, and he says, "Oh, this is the first time I've kissed a black woman," and I think she's kind of offended by that. And basically, by her boss barraging her with, get to work. I don't pay you to do nothing. I don't pay you to sleep. She gets pissed off. She just stays in bed. She doesn't cook. And I won't go any further. It's a really good movie. 4.5 stars. Okay, so next up we got a Charlie Chaplin film. I have a number of Charlie Chaplin films, but I don't have this one. Came out in 1957. It's called A King in New York. I do not know if this film was made in the U.S. or not. I'm not quite sure on that, because I know when Chaplin went to Europe one time, I think it was the late 40s or early 50s, they didn't allow him back into the country because of his past involving communism, I think. I don't know the full details. I don't think he went back to the U.S. after that. I mean, he did eventually go back in 1977 for a special Lifetime Achievement Award from the Oscars. But I do not know when he was thrown out of the country back in the late 40s, early 50s, whether he went back in between that time period and 1977. I don't know. But he plays a king who flees this country, lands in New York City, finds out he's deprived of his money, and he manages to do these ads for these various companies. And his son makes an appearance in the film. His son is pretty young, and he's pretty old, when he made this film. I mean, like, how old would he be? Maybe he was in his 50s. And his son would probably be like 9, 10 years old or something like that, maybe 11. He goes to this boys' school where his son is one of the students. And, one kid is cooking, and another kid's doing something else. And he's talking to his son. Well, it's not his son in the film. It's just, it's a student. And his student is talking about Marxism, communism, and all that stuff. And there's his usual gags that, Chaplin inserts into his movies. And in that particular instance, there's kids throwing spitballs at him and putting a cake under his butt, and him sitting down on the cake and getting cake all over his pants, and getting stuck in the elevator with his finger on the fire hose and not being able to get out of the elevator. What's the other gag that Chaplin does? He goes to a nightclub. He thinks he's hearing a nice pianist, and then they revolve the stage around, and there's this big band, and the cymbal hits his head, so the usual gags, you'd find in a Chaplin movie. I give it 4 stars. Okay. Then I got 2 more movies. This film was recommended by Sasha. And I guess, Sasha, you think it's a good movie? I don't know what to think about it. came out in 1986. It's called Withnail and I. Directed by Bruce Robinson. And it's set in the late 60s. It's about these two down-on-their-luck actors. They go into the countryside very soon after the start of the film. They spend time, cooking food, and I didn't quite get it all. Maybe a little bit of the language left me hanging. I didn't understand what was going on. The histrionics, is that the right term? Like the overacting of one of the main characters, how he just yells out lines. I didn't quite get it all. But then as the movie progressed towards the end, then I realized what makes it a well-regarded movie. And it's about, I guess, these two characters are, they're homosexuals. In the late 60s, I think that was kind of a hush-hush kind of issue in not just in UK, but other countries too, the US. What's his name? The guy in The Imitation Game that Benedict Cumberbatch played. Whoever he is, he was gay, and he worked on the coding machine against the Nazis, but he didn't dare detail the fact that he was gay. Or maybe something happened to him. Maybe they did an operation on him because they found out he was gay. But anyways, and one of the main characters, I think it's his uncle, comes to the cabin where they're vacationing, and he makes moves on the other guy that's his nephew's friend. And it's just basically these two guys trying to come to terms with their life and their sexual identity. I guess that's how I would address the movie. So in that standard, I give it 3.5 stars. Good, but not excellent. Last off, this was a film that was recommended to me by Jace. He recommended this road movie called El Sorpasso, an Italian movie from 1962, directed by Dino Risi, with an appearance by Jean-Louis Trintignant, who was in he was in The Conformist by Bertolucci, where he had to assassinate his professor in France for being a non-fascist, and he was in The Great Silence. He played The Great Silence. He was being hunted by bounty hunters, the Western there. He was also in Krzysztof Kieslowski's Bread as a judge. He's a very well-regarded French actor, but I think this was in his earlier part of his career, because he gets like a secondary credit. He doesn't get a big credit. I mean, like a few credits. He doesn't get the main credit, which is the guy that drives a car around. Anyways, at the start, this guy is driving this really fancy, souped-up car. He can't find a phone anywhere, so he yells to this guy in his apartment. And the guy decides to let him into his apartment. And he finds out the guy in the apartment, the John Louis character, is studying for a law exam. And the guy says to him, take some time off and relax with me. Let's go eat someplace. So they go off on this road trip. They stop at a few places, and this guy that is driving the car, he's honking his horn. He's driving wildly all around the place. He's kind of vain, sort of vain, I guess, sort of in a way. But he likes to live on the fast side, likes to eat fancy food, and then we find out what his life was before he met this particular guy this day, because the whole story takes place within the scope of one day and the start of another. So 2 days basically. So we meet the Jean-Louis character's family, and they only spend time briefly there, and the other character tries to make him more outgoing, make him want to have romantic interests with a woman he confesses that he has a liking for, and by the end something bad happens to one of the characters. Should I say that? You don't know what's going to happen, but it doesn't end. It doesn't end up. It doesn't have a happy ending. Let's put it that way. But you sort of think it would, and that's sort of what happens. So that, I guess, in that particular regard, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I couldn't watch any special features to that. I think it was the last film I watched before I lost a Criterion channel. But in particular, in regards to some of these films I talked about, these Criterions, they are at my library, I believe, so I can catch those special features later on when the library reopens, and then I can take the Criterion discs out and supplement my knowledge. All right, enough is enough. I've been on for an hour, and you're probably sick of me. Maybe you're not sick of me. Anyways, leave some comments if you want, and thanks for watching. Bye for now. Take care.